I don't know how much folks know about the information you and I share back and forth late at night. You did send me one photograph, and I like to talk about it because I found it fascinating, and it's also insight
Yeah.
into some of the activities that you do from a field research perspective.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you tied it back to work because I wasn't sure where that was going. And oh, I see here. So if you can see on the screen, bright orange in the background, obviously we're in an Amazon Fresh store. This is the Schaumburg location. It's
Hmm.
now been open just over a year, and I was doing some in-store observations around price checks and verifying some other interesting things that I was learning most recently about what Amazon Fresh is doing. So, as you can see here, Mark, this is the front end,
Hmm.
and this is at 6:30 in the evening,
Not in
and
the
you can
not in the morning. This is six
not in
thirty
the
at
morning.
night.
That's 6:30 at night, and
Yeah.
you have on the left, I believe that's an employee who's assembling an online order, and to the right, I think there is someone providing custodial services by the front end. There may be one customer in the checkout line, but that's about it.
And would you say this is normal for this location?
Well, at 6:30, this was unusually light. There
Yeah.
were probably another 15 customers in the store, and
Yeah.
that is fairly typical. Whether you're going in on a weekday or a weekend, a day or night, you won't see a lot of actual customer shopping in the store. What you will generally see, especially during the day, you'll see more staff assembling, pick, pack, and staging
Hmm.
those online orders. Then you will see actual customers shopping the aisles like myself.
So, David, this is I zoomed in on the photo, and what I found fascinating because I've been in other grocery environments where they've had massive trolleys or where they have totes stacked, and this gives us some perspective into how Amazon is doing the in-store pick. So,
Yeah.
what
So,
stands out for you from this photo?
well, first of all, context, and I'm not going to ask you to zoom out, but I'm pushing a green traditional wired shopping cart.
Hmm.
And if you saw that, I mean, it's like the one you see in most grocery stores. That's what they used to use. So, sometime recently, by that I mean in the last couple months, they transitioned from using the shopping cart to using these carts.
Right.
And you're right. Many grocers in the the conventional space or even mass tend to have these large carts with totes, maybe 6 or 8 totes, where they can batch out multiple orders at the same time. Not the same thing here at Amazon, as you can see.
And as you indicated, so these bags are printed with the order
Yeah.
staging labels on them.
Yeah, so that person is potentially batched out with multiple orders picking. The difference between this and the enhanced picking methods is they're picking the entire order. So all the temp zones are going onto that cart for that order. They have some insulated bags that are already labeled, as you mentioned, but they're not necessarily zone picking, by temp zone like some retailers do. So this person here is walking the entire store and potentially picking multiple orders at the same time.
Okay. And how many pickers would you say were in the store at that time?
Well, that's probably not a good illustration. I mean,
Hmm.
there'd be maybe 10, but typically, and again, this is 6:30 at night. Now, keep in
Yeah.
mind, their hours of operations are going to sunset around 9 or 10 in this store. If I were doing this in the midday or even in the morning, you would see probably 25 assemblers or pickers in the store. And again, that's going to be predicated on the volume that the store is doing. But in past cases, you would have seen somewhere in the order of 25 in the store, and that would generally be in excess of the actual number of actual customers that are actually shopping in the store.
Fascinating. And the other detail you shared with me was you also got a prepared meal from Amazon.
I did. In fact, you can't see it even from that angle.
Yeah.
You really have to walk all the way to the other side, and then you would see essentially a mini Whole Foods over there. It's not branded Whole Foods,
Hmm.
but if you've been in a Whole Foods and you've seen their salad bar and their prepared food section, it is very similar in form and function to what you'd have in a Whole Foods. The food is very good. The values are great. The issue, frankly, is you don't know about it if you don't go into the store.
Hmm.
And furthermore, you really don't even know about it until you get to that part of the store, which is really not visible until you literally turn the last corner. So the placement and the exposure that it has is probably something to be desired. But again, you saw on the screen, the one thing that is clear is where the return and pickup windows are,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And I want to just tie this back to what you said earlier is the drop and ship to home. This is a perfect example of Amazon in their shift to physical locations may not be doing the same amount of foot traffic compared to another conventional grocer at that time of night, but they're in the learning process.
Well, they are, but there's also another thing that I realized that maybe isn't as clear to other people. Today, conventional grocers or regional
Hmm.
grocers, whatever term you want, 90% of their business still resides in the physical store shop, right? Maybe about 10% is driven by online sales for delivery or pickup. Amazon Fresh is almost the inverse of that.
Wow.
Very little contribution from inside the store from actual customers walking up and down and self shopping for their grocery needs. And then furthermore, when you look at their online business and break it, and again, let's keep ship to home out of there for a second. If you looked at their order share between delivery and pickup, what you would see is something incredibly higher for
Hmm.
delivery than even grocery. I mean, if grocery is running 75% order mix, for instance, in favor of delivery, Amazon probably is 80+% delivery. Now, those couriers, the Amazon Flex drivers, are coming and filling up in the pickup spots, which may give some people the impression that there's a robust pickup business going on. But if you were to watch them like I do, you would see that many of those Flex drivers who are doing the pickup are getting batched out 6 to as many as 8 orders to deliver from that store. So, from a economic standpoint,
Hmm.
the base volume is actually outside the store from online that's driving the volume through the store as opposed to what we would see in a conventional grocer, and it creates some opportunities for Amazon that conventional grocers just frankly can't really even consider.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, so one example would be pricing. So one of the ideas around the conventional grocer is recognition that a customer who is coming to a regional grocer or conventional grocery store online generally is making that choice more likely because of the assortment that's
Hmm.
offered by that store, as opposed to if they were shopping with a mass retailer like Walmart or Target. uh, Walmart more specifically, their primary reason for using that service is cost related, right? Not only lower prices, but lower cost to use the service. So, what we would generally interrogate and recommend for the conventional grocers to look at how they could bifurcate their pricing to reflect the higher cost to serve nature of shopping online. We have examples out there. Costco is one that has done a very good job, relatively speaking, in communicating to their customers that very point.
Hmm.
And they make it very clear that if you want the lowest prices from them, you should shop inside the store
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they make it very clear that they add a markup to the products to cover the cost of doing the shopping for you. Now, what's interesting is a lot of retailers will look at this and say, well, we need to remain competitive against the EDLP leader in our market.
Yep.
Generally speaking, it's going to be Walmart. So we want to maintain price parity primarily between store and online. Well, in the case of Amazon, they're not thinking that way. One, we already know from other research that Amazon Fresh is not looking to pick a fight with Walmart on price. They are not. In fact, what they have decided to do initially is to start low with a penetration strategy to grow share and then
Hmm.
to walk up prices gradually. So we've seen them go from 4% above Walmart to 6% to 10 to 13% by month 9 at this store. And today they're north of 20% higher than Walmart on a basket of comparable items. And that's based on something we just did this week. Now, what they're doing, interestingly, is that their prices are going up uniformly online and in store. They're taking an approach that no conventional retailer would do, which is to raise prices everywhere, right?
It would be counterintuitive to a conventional.
Right, because if you
Yeah.
raise the prices in the store to be equal to the price online, you're essentially subsidizing online with higher prices in store, but you're also exposing yourself to more potential customer loss and dissatisfaction by doing so. So it's a little asymmetrical in terms of warfare that a conventional grocer wouldn't think about raising all the prices across the board. But Amazon Fresh has done that, and it's harder to understand their pricing because normally we would be looking for a markup between in-store and online to
Right.
kind of indicate how they've done that. But because in-store shopping is such a small component of their broader business mix, it actually makes sense for them to make parity pricing equal to what it should be online. And thereby the customer never sees that online's higher. And where this comes in is an analysis that we were doing because of a tip that we got from someone relative to prices between Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm.
And this, again, wouldn't be a typical comparison that we would make because different shopping trips, different occasions. So it's not likely that we would even do that in our retail work, as you know. But what we did find, just looking at 8 exact items and saying if Mark bought those 8
Yeah.
items at the Whole Foods in Schaumburg, and then Dave went to the Amazon Fresh store, I'll be the sucker here. Dave would spend probably 18% more for those 8 items collectively than Mark at Whole Foods. Now, that on an absolute basis is somewhere close to $5 differential between buying the same items at Whole Foods versus Amazon Fresh. But in this case, I'm spending more at Amazon Fresh. Now, most people would be absolutely blown away to see that, but it's that instance that caused us to interrogate their business model to try to understand a little bit more about their motives and their pricing strategies that led us to this conclusion that they recognize that the in-store business fundamentally is different than that of a conventional grocer. In fact, it is extremely different. So
Yeah.
therefore, they can apply different tactics to the business that a conventional grocer would never do. So it's really interesting when you step back and start to look at these things. It reveals insights, some of which may be true and some of which may not be, but it's hard to explain it otherwise. So this is the working hypothesis we have relative to, what is Amazon doing besides not picking
Yeah.
a fight with Walmart because it wouldn't end well for Amazon. They're actually moving up their price gap or they're closing their price gap with the conventionals, which historically are 25% above Walmart. Now they're closer to the conventionals, which would indicate that they believe that their pricing doesn't have to be that much lower than the conventional to still win share. So that may be some of the bells and whistles that they've loaded into their
Fascinating.
e-commerce business,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
other interesting thing, well, I'll let you go.
No, no, keep
Oh,
going.
okay. So
No,
the
I
other
was
thing
I was
was,
just going to say. I mean, it's like they're treating the in-store shopper as an opportunistic, incremental add-on to their online business.
again, we try to be very careful not to overthink. A lot of times that's where we get in trouble. But, the other thing is keep in mind that it was at the end of October of last year when there was the big dust up around Whole Foods
Yeah.
introducing a $9.95 delivery. It was around this time, not exactly, that they were already 13% higher than Walmart at that location. Okay, that would be November. Now, fast forward to today, that gap between that Amazon Fresh store in Schaumburg and the nearest Walmart has almost doubled, right? And you'd say, well, why is that? Well, one thing, if Amazon Fresh in the market will focus on free 2-hour delivery, to which I say, first of all, you need to be a Prime member. So again, reinforce the value of Prime membership. And second of all, let's be really clear. They said 2-hour delivery. They did not say within 2 hours.
Within 2 hours.
So,
Yeah.
so you could be placing an order at 11 o'clock in the morning and getting a free delivery between 3 and 5. And they then go on and do one of the things that we recommend conventional grocers consider, which is price a premium for precision relative to shrinking the levels of or increasing the level of control. So while they offer free 2-hour delivery, they offer 1-hour delivery, which means instead of from 3 to 5, I can get my order from 3 to 4 for a $4.99 premium. So they're doing some interesting things, but buyer beware. If someone says, I'm not going to shop at Whole Foods because they've just instituted a $9.95 fee, I'm going to go buy the same basket over at Amazon Fresh. If that basket in theory was simply those 8 items, guess what? You just paid $5 more for the same items, and we haven't yet hit the $35 threshold. So you would have had to throw more items in the basket to get there. Now we know in the big picture, Amazon Fresh on the basket of goods compared to Whole Foods is less expensive. But the point that may surprise customers and retailers are the items that you can find in both stores may surprise you who has the lower price, because it's not necessarily whole paycheck.
That's awesome. Folks, we had an extra bonus edition with David this week. Can't wait to next month. David, how can viewers get a hold of you?
Well, they can find me on the dark web under Balvor.
List
They
what are all your aliases?
No, I can't reveal those because some of them are actually in my profile, my user profiles that I use when I'm shopping online. And that, funny enough, really messes me up because I did have one where I was doing a pickup at a retailer in the Southeast, and they were flummoxed. I was out there, I was telling them I had an order, and they said, "Sir, we only have one here." I said, "Well, what's the name?" And I'll give you this one. They said, "Oh, it's Jay Wayne." Oh, John Wayne. I said, "That's me." They go, "I thought you said your name was David Bishop." I said, "It is. It's both. I'm sorry." So I gave you one of my pseudonyms. I can't give them all out because that's tradecraft, Mark. Yeah, that they could. No, that's not on the web. They can get me through my email at david.bishop@brickmeetsclick.com. They can follow me or connect with me via LinkedIn. Or they can send you a note, and then you can send me a note, and we can go from there.
Absolutely. I'd be happy. By all means, reach out to me, mark.ferris at brickators.com. I'd be happy to share David's other aliases with you so you can check your shopper records. David, as usual, it's a pleasure. Till next time.
Oh, great. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate being invited back once again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.